Hello everyone, my name is Regina Lee, and this is my presentation for my capstone paper. Um, so for my capstone paper, I decided to write about the topic of developmentally appropriate practices in the classroom setting. Why I chose this topic was this was just a topic that I heard a lot about and learned a lot about in all of my classes in the entire early childhood studies program. Um, I chose this topic because as a future educator, this is something that I would want to learn more about and just know about the benefits and how it works for effective teaching and just why this is something that should be used so that all I can create lesson plans and classroom environments that will cater to the specific needs of all my students. So for starters, I wanted to just simply define and explain what developmentally appropriate practice is. So, developmentally appropriate practice, or DAP, is a method or a teaching approach that is designed to help promote young children's learning and development by having teachers and educators meet children where they are on the learning scale. And this can be done by just allowing students to make some of the decisions in the classroom or allowing students the opportunity to have freedom of play or to create lessons that are focused on the students' interests and wants. Because when doing this, so it allows for us to create and also assess the students at the same time so that we can know where the students are developing, like developmentally, and just focusing on getting the students engaged in their everyday classroom environments. Um, According to the National Association for the Education of Young Children, or the NAEYC, there are three main points when it comes to using developmentally appropriate practice. The first point is just having a general knowledge about how children development and all their various learning styles. When doing so, this is just as simple as knowing how a child develops as in socially, emotionally, cognitively, and even physically. That way we can know that creating a lesson plan for a child out of physical development for at an 8-year-old versus a 2-year-old and creating what's appropriate for their age group and developmental level. The second part is about understanding what is individually appropriate for each student. So this can go in special education and for general education, just knowing that every student is different and that they may work differently in the classroom or learn differently or just have different needs and learning styles. For example, in special education, you may have two students in your classroom that may have the same disability, but just understanding and knowing that just because they have the same disability, that they are not the same person, that they do not have the same IEP, and that they may not even need the same accommodations. And the third part is just knowing and understanding what is culturally appropriate for every student. This is just understanding that, again, every student is different and that they may have a different cultural or background, and just emphasizing the importance of diversity and the difference of every student, and that we just want every student to be able to succeed to their fullest potential in every classroom by creating a program that is appropriate for them developmentally. And so next I talk about the 10 strategies that are also from the NAEYC about implementing developmentally appropriate practices into classroom setting. So the 10 strategies are as follows. The first one is about acknowledgement, just acknowledging students so that they feel valued as an important role in the classroom. The second strategy is encouragement, giving positive encouragement towards our students and their choices instead of just always evaluating and assessing their choices. The third strategy is about giving feedback. So when we give feedback to our students, it allows the students to understand what specific areas they need to work on or certain goals that may need to be changed for them. This just allows them to know what they need to practice more on. The next strategy is for us as teachers and educators to model the behaviors and attitudes that we would want our students to do. And the fifth strategy is about also demonstrating this. So these two go hand in hand because you want to demonstrate to your students the correct way an appropriate way to do things so that they can learn it and see it visually and copy what we're doing as the correct way. The next strategy is about creating and adding challenges for our students. When we do this, it allows for our students to be pushed in a way that stimulates them in a good way and also is used as an assessment tool so that we can know where it is our students are reaching on the level of their development. The next strategy is just ask students questions. This allows for students to critically think and also expand their knowledge if they have questions. And in so doing that, the next strategy is just giving assistance when needed. So offering help when the students are struggling or just guiding them. That way the students don't feel alone and understand that you are always supporting them. The next strategy is providing information. So this goes back to when you were asking students questions, if they ask us questions, to also give them the information so that they can learn more and get clear answers and a clear picture to things. And the last strategy is about giving directions to students and just helping them respond when they may need a cue to a question, or they just need help with certain behaviors in the classroom as well. So when these 10 strategies are used together, educators can potentially provide a good classroom environment that uses developmentally appropriate practices. So next, I talk about how DAP, or developmentally appropriate practice, goes hand in hand in special education. So these 7 reasons as why developmentally appropriate practice and special education go hand in hand are found from Carta, 1993. The first idea is just the idea of how important individualization is. So both in general education and special education, it is very important to understand that every student is different. So when you have students that have disabilities or special needs, they will usually have an IEP or an IFSP, just individualized learning plan that demonstrates and lists out their accommodations and certain learning skills and just focuses on their goals for their school year. This is also important in DAP because DAP, you're creating a classroom environment and lesson plan that caters to the needs of every student. So with that being said, in special education, having these individualized tasks and lesson plans will go hand in hand. Carter's second idea is just the de-emphasis of standardized assessments. In early childhood special education, they're trying to move beyond traditional assessments. That way, students that may have different needs and accommodations can still be achieving these tests and be taken to, meet the needs and standards of it, but just be done in a non-standardized way. The third idea is about integrating curriculum and assessments. This is also founded off of the NAEYC as well guidelines. Their idea is to provide quality classroom settings that can cater to the needs to students, every student's developmental level. And the fourth idea is just about having the importance of child-initiated activities. When we let children have a decision and say what they do in the classroom, it not only allows for children to feel valued in the classroom, but it also allows for us as teachers to learn more about their students. We can use this opportunity to assess and observe and just see what students gravitate towards more and use those in potential future activities, or we can use those to see where students are on their or where they are developmentally. That way we can know what areas to target and practice more on. The next idea is about having how developmentally appropriate practice and special education are related and how they both emphasize the importance of active engagement. This idea is also stemmed off of Piaget's theory of how children interact with their environment so they can also learn from their environment. So this is similar to having the students have a decision in the classroom. They can be active learners, and then doing so we can learn more about what materials and things that they want to interact with. Next, the Carta's last idea is about the importance of cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is something that is very important in both developmentally appropriate practice and in special education. Um, According to Carta, both fields share the perspective that providing multicultural experience in program is necessary to accommodate individuals' differences and to support the integrity of children's families, backgrounds, and cultures. So that being said, every student is going to be different in their upbringing and background, as well as their different developmental stages and their different needs and desires and accommodations that they may need, meaning that educators will have to create lessons and classroom environments that will be able to meet students at every single level that they need to be. Next, I talk about the effectiveness of having DAP in the classroom. So in this, I talk about Fox's 1993's research and about how when educators created classroom settings and curriculum that were based off of developmental appropriate practice and how they were able to, what the outcome was of students being in these classrooms that practice this. The first outcome was that in this study, 5 students were placed in different classrooms that had developmentally appropriate practices for students with disabilities. The first outcome was that when using naturalistic teaching approaches alongside of DAP, it promoted the results of students achieving their targeted learning skills. And second outcome that was found after completing a study was that students' social and cognitive skills also changed as they attended a play-based program that practiced developmentally appropriate practice. And the third outcome was found after completing a study of how students' development changes artificially and artistically by assessing their freeform of art products and block creations. This was done so in letting children play and create things. The fourth outcome was found by using standardized assessment tool. The Patil Development Inventory was used to assess students at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. This allowed them to assess how this play-based program that was using developmentally appropriate practice was effective for the child's development. And the last and final outcome that was found in this study was that the spreading of developmentally appropriate practice is being spread throughout the early childhood special education field. And next, I talk about the benefits of having developmentally appropriate practices. We focus mostly on the cognitive development and the social and emotional development. One of the first benefits is that a child's social emotional development was shown through a study that classrooms that use developmentally appropriate practices influence the students in a positive way, as they were not stressed out more because they were able to do lessons that were focused to their needs and to their interests. And secondly, their cognitive development was shown to promote positive and healthy development in their cognitive, as they were able to think more and process the things in their life and things around them more at a level that they can understand and achieve. So they were able to process things such as language awareness and information processing better. And so in conclusion, that is my topic of developmentally appropriate practice on my capstone paper. I believe that this is a topic that was learned in throughout all the classes in the early childhood program. And I think that this is a practice that, as a future educator, I would want to use in all my classrooms, because knowing that from the benefits of having DAP, of just their social emotional development, even their cognitive, and just how important this is to their development, this is a factor that I would love to continue to practice and use, and that I hope that everyone else has also learned from this. Thank you.